Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Good morning, friends. So this is part, excuse me, this is part 3 of going through the Arati songs of all of our temples, but that originated in our Belur temple. So I want to point out again, this is the book we're using. This is more like a class than a lecture or a talk. The reason I'm giving a class on the songs that are sung every evening in our Ramakrishna temples, or in the Vedanta Society temples, is because these songs can be vital in your daily spiritual practice. I'm addressing mostly the devotees who are already trying to practice something. For new people who are unacquainted with the traditions of the Ramakrishna Mat and mission, you're just going to be jumping into the middle of the pool on this one because we're halfway through. And we're more than halfway through. I hope this is our final class on this. These Arati songs were written by Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda founded this whole order in the name of his guru, Sri Ramakrishna. Again, one of the interesting things to note in that although the main song, Kandana Bhava Bandhana, which is, at least that song is usually sung in every one of our temples or our centers, never is Ramakrishna's name mentioned, which is pretty interesting to me. And yet every verse describes the qualities of an avatar, not a Hollywood avatar. We've already clarified a real avatar, like a Jesus or a Christ or a Buddha, and not self-proclaimed avatars either. There are plenty of false self-illumined souls. Beware. So when I first, excuse me, it's pollen season here in Seattle and in Washington State, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'm going to sound like I have a cold most of the day. These songs have the deepest meaning and description of verse by verse of the qualities and characteristics of the avatar, of the characteristics that are deemed of the godlike, you can say. A person that is like God. Our understanding of an avatar is when God embodies himself in the form of a human to teach mankind, not just one segment of mankind, to give teachings that will help for the next maybe 1,000 or 1,500 years. We still talk about Christian teachings, we talk about Buddhist teachings. For that reason, we can understand that when such teachings can run over centuries and our lifespans are just 100 years at the most, we can understand that there's power in these teachings and in these words. So this first song, Kandana Bhava Bandhana, addressing the qualities of the avatar, it's really important to understand what this song means. Many of us may have been in this tradition and hearing these songs for 5, 10, 15, 20, or even 40 or 50 years. And still we never look deeply into the meanings of these songs. Sometimes people come to the vesper service at Tapovan retreat, and in that I can no longer play the harmonium, and I can play the harmonium, but my singing voice has dropped away. So I personally stream the Belur Arati every evening. And while the monks of Belur are singing, I enjoy reading this short description meaning of what they're singing about. We got to verse 5, and today I want to finish Kandana Bhava Bandhana, and I want to go into the second song at least, and I hopefully complete that too. So how I've been doing this is reading out the Sanskritized Bengali, we can call it. It's written in Bengali actually, but the words are all Sanskritic. And give you the short meaning and then some of the background behind it. If you're familiar with the small Arati books, this is not the one that, there's a book that looks similar to this, and it says Arati and Ramnam. And it has just short, a little more terse explanations. But this book called Arati Songs by Swami Harshananda, these are both the same book, different covers. So I really encourage any initiated devotee or any new person who is maybe interested or feeling a little drawn or attracted to the tradition of the Ramakrishna order to get a copy of this book. It isn't a big book. It's about 70, 80 pages, but the commentary goes deeply into giving the nuances of these two lines for every verse here. So we'll continue now with verse 6. So verse 6 is Vanchana Kamakanchana Achinindita Indriya Rag Tyagishwara He Narabara Deha Pade Anurag. What does it mean? I'm using Swami Harshananda's English translation, which I find really good. So, you have renounced lust and greed. That's the first thing he says about why should the avatar renounce lust and greed? Because lust and greed are what is wrong with the world we live in today. People are greedy, people are lusty, and all the fun and all the trouble comes from those two things. But the avatar sets an example for what is best to be practiced amongst men. But in this case, you can say the avatar has special powers. The purity of the avatar is unparalleled. We do not find it anywhere. Because not only is it a perfectly pure mind, a pure mind in Vedanta, what does that mean? We have to talk about that a little bit. A pure mind is never confused about what is real, what is the reality, what is real and what is unreal, what is an appearance in the reality. In non-dual Vedanta, ultimately, this entire world that we're busying ourselves with, including Vedanta lectures and getting involved in anything, is considered by non-dualists nothing more than a dream or even a nightmare of a dream. There's no point to it all, as it were. But the Vedantist, this is where Vedanta is not strictly non-dualism. In Vedanta, we can understand that the teachings of Ramakrishna are clear. This world, which we may call Maya, or the Leela, the play of the Divine Mother, all the ups and downs, all the excitement and all the boredom, these all take place here in this reality, which, according to Vedanta, is nothing also other than the manifestation of the One. It is God manifesting as all of this. This is probably one of the hardest concepts to accept with understanding. We can accept it, we can repeat the words over and over, but that doesn't mean we've understood a thing. To either nothing or either one exists without a second, meaning a second meaning if only one exists. What is that? We can say God alone exists. Brahman alone exists. What is Brahman? Is it a being? Is it a person? Is it did Brahman create this universe then? Vedanta will say this universe was never created. Brahman has created nothing. But we're not going into that today. But this idea that it has to be one, or either the world is real. We wake up every day doing the same habits, having the same interests, thinking we have to cross out our to-do, our checklist, and we pretty much live the same routine every day, however varied it may be. Some people's routine may be to jump on a plane and fly to another country for a meeting here or there. Another person is just going to get up and brush their teeth or take a shower, have a cup of coffee, and start watching TV or something. It's all a routine. It's all the same kind of, we wake up and find ourselves in the body. We are embodied. And we are stuck here for the rest of our lives. So if we're going to make something useful with the time we're passing here, that's completely up to us as individuals. What is important in life? What do we want to do with it? This again, this is bringing us full circle back to the need of the avatar. The avatar is, you can call it maybe the escape door from the world. There might be 1,000 doors in front of us to walk through to make our day move forward. But the door of the avatar is the door not just out of this room into some other room, but is the door that can get us off of this cycle of birth and rebirth. That's another axiomatic thing that if you're not buying it, that's fine. It is required to buy to get along with this type of talk on spiritual life. Because with spiritual life, the idea that we can eventually evolve, as it were. It's not an intellectual sharpening necessarily, although a sharp intellect, it can be a curse and a blessing. It lets us analyze endlessly. How do I get out of here? How do I end this cycle of birth and rebirth? Again, the answer is given by this song. The avatar has the ability to deliver just that to us. Does he give it to us all at once? Does he deliver a whole world out into... No, it doesn't happen like that. He's not the big UFO in the sky where the selected few get vacuumed up and taken to some kind of heaven somewhere. Those are just childish nonsense ideas. I hope you all agree with that. There's so many cults who are waiting for their second coming, their deliverance. Deliverance from what? The fun of this world. The world isn't a lot of fun. It can be scary, frightening. Why am I here? Why did my parents divorce? You know, it just starts off with, in this day and age, that's probably the biggest question, because it's just more and more a life, a foundation destroyer, where you become uncertain of things. It can start with that. The parents are divorced, and a young child is going, my world is falling apart. My parents were my foundation. They don't think like that, of course, but they're used to having a stable, safe place. Home is safe. Mom and dad are safe. When that happens at a young age, of course, that's going to be some traumatized. But even as we grow up, we become adults, we become independent thinkers to some extent. We think for ourselves anyway. We decide what's important in our life, if we have goals, if we have dreams we want to follow and meet, we start making efforts to make changes in our life that will hopefully lead to what we imagine will give us a happier life, a better life. So this verse, this is going to take a while, verse 6 still. You have renounced lust and greed. Lust and greed are the whole reason that this world, we enjoy it for a few quick moments, those things, but in general, it is a very huge burden to carry as a human being if we are particularly focused on being more greedy. I want stuff for me. We become completely selfish. We don't even have the ability to think or care what another person is wanting just as much for them as you want for yourself. And maybe all you'll do is talk about yourself or think about yourself, and their duty is to listen to you. If we all behave that way, what kind of world will we be in? I think maybe prison life will be better than that. A bunch of monstrosity, selfish beings who are probably insecure and terrified. So, renouncing of lust and greed, the devotees, the follower, the monks, that's one of the first things that has to be brought into a challenge for us to realize. You have to look into your own heart and see, how do these two areas, how do you respond in your life to it? Lust often leads us into whoever we marry or find a partner in life. It may start on the bodily level of just the lowest level of animal connection, and then we may end with a connection and a bond that we may or may not want to continue, but it may continue. If children are born and people get married and children are raised, starting with that one thing. Greed doesn't mean I want more of this and more of that. Well, it does mean that, but greed is in many different forms. Greed is a mental thirst that we all have, to some extent, for power, money, honor. Honor means honor of others. We want to be honored by others. Our self-worth is only, for many people, their self-worth is only if others are coming to them and trying to hoping to get a favor from you. If you have more power, you're in a higher position in your work, in your company, you're the CEO or you're the owner. That desire for lust and greed, Ramakrishna would call, that is, he mentions in telling stories to the devotees where one of the young boy devotees, oh, that money, women in gold, money and sex pleasure, or power and honor and sex pleasure, that is the whirlpool of the Vishalaki. This was a young boy who was very pure in mind. He had not thought about any of those things, but when he would hear about it, that's what he said. This is the whirlpool of the Vishalaki. What is that? There is a river, a stream that has whirlpools in it, in the villages there in India. And if you get drawn into that current, you're going to be taken down. Nobody comes up from that whirlpool. That's how important lust and greed, kamini kanchan in the Bengali, that desire for those two areas of life. Because what else is life in human society? In all cultures, all ethnicities, it's very much the same. People on the top, people on the bottom. People get to the top by trampling, usually skillfully or brutally, on the shoulders of the many. Not a nice thing to do. And yet, we look at them and give them the best honor, the highest salaries. Don't ask me if there's logic or reason in that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Those are people that may be better to run from than to worship. Okay, I'm going to read on because we're going to finish this song. So you have renounced lust and greed. You have despised attachment to senses. O king of ascetics, O best of men, give me attachment to your holy feet. So we can say these attributes are all something we find in the life of Ramakrishna, renouncing lust and greed, and despising attachment to the senses. Why should we despise attachment to the senses? We go out in a beautiful morning and see the green trees and the flowers and the birds. We only see that's through our sense organs. Seems like it's a nice thing, at least at times. We can also see a space shuttle explode. We can see bombs dropping on countries and destroying innocent people and houses and buildings. All these also come through the senses. So you have despised attachment to the senses. So attachment is the key word here. We are completely dependent on what comes through our senses, our eyes, our ears, our touch, our feeling. That's how we live in a body in this world. We all do the same thing that way. Why should we despise or why should we be detached to the senses? Because when things are beautiful and feel good, because of our greed, we want more of it. Lust and greed, first line. We want to see another sunny day. We want to see beautiful mountain and ocean scenery, or a meadow, or animals in a wild place. We want to see it again and again. Attachment is wanting the repeated thing. We don't just have one cup of coffee in our life. Good morning, all coffee addicts here who start their day with a cup of coffee. It's pretty common. Just like we don't stay in bed all day either. We do get up. So we all get out of bed the same way. And so many of us, we have to have that cup of coffee. I'm in line with that so far. We don't just want the one cup. Every morning we want another cup. We're attached. Is that a horrible thing? seems like a really good thing every single morning. We want it. We're going to do it. Is there harm in it? What's the problem with it? We have set up this habit, this repetitive habit that we like. We're going to do it again and again. We're creating a mental line, call it if you think that our habits come from just repeated synapses in the brain firing the same way and we like the way that feels, you can do it neuroscience-wise too. We keep laying down the same track. Just try to stop doing your habit, whether it's a coffee or a tea, breakfast or no breakfast. Make a total change and see how difficult it is to change even what you might think is a simple habit. Oh, I don't need coffee. I could drink juice, or I could have tea, or I could try herbal tea. You see, you want to replace it with something else. We can't conceive any longer about not having something to replace it, even if we change it. We're going to do that. So we're praising the avatar for despising attachment to the senses, because ultimately it's the attachment that is the problem. The senses come with the body. The senses come with taking on a human birth. And we all have that. So again, I may have to go back to the very basic things. Why do we take a human birth? Ramakrishna makes it really simple. A human birth gives us the opportunity not only just to experience this world, to learn about it, to gain experience through the senses. All of our experience, everything in your mind, every picture, image you can imagine, whether you're sleepy, whether you're active, whether you're on a roller coaster, whether you're just lounging in a chair, every picture has a thought, a name, and a word to it, and this is our human existence. And it all originates through the senses. We see a thing, we know what it looks like, we know what it feels like, we have a concept of what it does, we create a full language to share that with other people. Otherwise, why should we talk to each other at all? We just talk about what we've seen, heard, felt, particularly what we feel. Women more so, men less so, depends. Not always that way. But that idea of sharing with another, part of our experiences, that's what language does for us. And language isn't just speech coming out there. Your mental thoughts are in words if you take note of it. If you sit and watch or listen to that internal voice that never stops talking to you. What's that? Was that Swami going to stop talking sometime? That little voice, that's the one I'm talking about. It never stops. Where's that voice coming from? Your inner voice. That's the voice we need to discipline and train and give a job to, because that's the voice that can, when we sit him down and teach that voice well, can help us not have to come back here and do all this again. So I'm addressing mostly people who have been with Vedanta for a long time, and even people who have never been to Vedanta. I used to actually work at the King County Detox for a year or two. Swami did not like that I was with such people, drunkards and things. I would look after them. And I worked the night shift, and I would sometimes share some of my Vedanta. I was quite young then, in my 20s, with the charge nurse. She wanted to know a little bit about reincarnation and coming back again. And she's saying, well, I would never, I mean, like if you do come back, it really left an impression on my young mind. She says, I would never come back to do this again. I don't want to. Now, she's not a Buddhist and she's not a Hindu. She probably had a Christian background, but the concept of repeating the life she's lived, we're all going to do the night shift at the detox. She's the one in charge. She didn't like her job anymore. I actually enjoyed my job to some extent, but young people tend to find ways to like their job. They're a little more creative and they don't feel trapped and they don't feel they're in a rut yet. If you're in your 20s, in your 20s or even 30s, you don't recognize the deep trench you've already begun to dig. So when I heard a Christian person telling me, basically a Christian background, I don't think she went to church anymore, but probably had earlier. But her visceral reaction to the idea of maybe coming back and living a life similar with all the limited choices here. The reason that we human beings want out of this world is it's too limited for the soul that dwells within us, which that little voice always talking to us in the background, that witness that has watched everything. That is key to help us figure out what is the way out. Those of us lucky enough to find Vedanta in this life, the directions are clear and straightforward from the teachers. Ramakrishna gave very precise ideas. The purpose of human life is to realize God. It's not to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend or to get rich or to just have a lot of fun or to adventure the world till you're 90 years old. Everything gets old. You can't eat the same, even a coffee brand we might want to change in the morning, try a new flavor. Our herbal tea drinking, I'm tired of that herbal tea, I'll do another one, I'll add this one. We look for variety, we're bored. It's too limited for us. It doesn't really matter what we're pursuing right now. If we look back, did all the things you used to pursue and chase after satisfy you and fulfill you? If so, what are you doing here? You're still looking for something more, and probably something more profound than just the little rewards that our day-to-day adventures throw at us. We reward ourselves. Okay, it rained all day, I'm going to the Mexican restaurant today. It's gloomy out. I need a little reward. Okay, Mexican food. I can't cook it as good as they do. They do a really good job. It tastes really good, but why don't we want to do it every single day then? Why not? Same thing. We don't want to do the same thing every single day. Sadly enough, the spiritual practices may fall into a similar routine. That's a dangerous thing. And this is an area where if we, as we abandon one worldly pursuit after another because it's brought us nothing but boredom, the abandonment of it doesn't bother us. I'll find something new to do. There's almost unlimited new things to try in the world, and we can't do all of it in a lifetime. We know that. But after doing many of them, when the result is still leaving you unsatisfied and unfulfilled, you might take note of that these things aren't working for the long run. But this is where, again, having a meditation practice, what is that? Basically, you're taking time off from the world and you're doing a daily life review, mini life review. What's working? what's not working, what makes you, not necessarily what makes you feel happy, because the happiness in the sense of not things that give us elation and then they're over, which leave you dropped down to the bottom again, because that's how fulfilling a desire, we're thinking that, oh, I want that, something to eat, something to buy, something to drive, doesn't matter. Somebody to meet, exciting, a new possible best friend in life. We get excited, we're eager, our desire grows stronger. And then we say we're looking for a new friend, and then we go and have a cup of coffee. And then, looks different than what I thought. We start analyzing, criticizing, and finding we're back in the same habit of this isn't going to be the last choice and decision of our life again. we realize it, that no, this isn't going to work. This thing I bought, this isn't going to give me eternal bliss. None of these things are satisfying. None of these things have lasting effects. And so we just keep doing more of the same. Guess what? When you do the same thing, you keep getting the same result. I know we've all heard it before. It's a cliche. You're going to still get the same disappointing result. With spiritual practice, with meditation, once we start questioning the wisdom of how we've been living up till now, we can make some real changes. And instead of looking for happiness, we learn to appreciate a mind that is less restless. The mind by its very nature is always restless. One verse. How to let the mind relax. The body we give our body a break every night or day, whatever you work the night shift, doesn't matter. The body can't just go on and on and on. We have to disappear. We have to go to bed. We have to take a nap. We have to stop doing stuff. We just have to stop. When we're tired, when we're really, really tired, like when we're exhausted, tired, all you want to do is just stop and lay this body down and disappear from it. And we do. As soon as you lay that body down, you are out. Where did you go? To the dream world? 3 states of consciousness: the waking state, the dream state, there's actually 4, and the dreamless state. Those 3 states are what we all know and what we do every single day. Without that rest, the body can't go on. More importantly, the mind can't go on. Our mind needs time out. It's like if all these bright, annoying lights are running, these only turn on when somebody has to come up here. Otherwise, these bulbs will burn out. They're too bright, they're too... it's the same thing with the mind. So this idea of even though we're conscious during the day, without going to sleep and without having a dream sleep or having a dreamless sleep, we can just sit and let our thoughts go inward. It says in the meditation class, but that's sort of where this practice is so helpful to rebalance us in the middle of the day. Even if you just need, if you're at work, if you need just a 5-minute time out to reset everything peacefully. You don't get to problem solve. You don't get to think about the next meeting. You don't get to think about where I have to go in 2 hours or what I have to do or my husband, wife, mother, siblings are going to call or I have to do. No. Done. Switch is off. The lights are black. Just sit and be. Just try it. If you're new at meditation, you got about a half a second before the first thought comes back, uninvited. It absolutely will happen. There's no such thing as blanking out your mind. Meditation classes and all these places, they'll charge you a lot of money to sit there and think of nothing. What are you thinking about? A black screen? A turned off computer? You're still thinking about something. That's not thinking about nothing. That's not relaxing. Sitting back. Breathing is helpful. Remembering to breathe. Diaphragmatic breathing. Make it a habit. Pranayama breathing in the kind way it's taught in yoga shops, that can be really dangerous. Read what our books have to say about that stuff. If you're someone who's thinking you go to a yoga studio and they're doing all this huffing and puffing, that can stimulate prana in the mind in ways that if the mind has not already been brought into control slowly, it's like damming a river. You don't dam it suddenly. If you just take the Columbia River and put a gargantuan thing there, you're just going to destroy every town and village and things along the way. If they want to get a little power from it, they just take like one ray of light from the sun. Look what it does. We get solar power. We can run a city on it. The mind is even harder to control than a river. So you don't try to stop it completely. You have to do it incrementally because it will win the game. It's sort of like now we're all schizophrenics. We are trying to control our own mind. Which one of us is controlling which? The mind is used to controlling us. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. We think that's us. That's not really the us that can sit down and go, what do I really want? That inner voice, us. Yeah, I don't want to do anything right now. I don't need to jump on my bike. I don't need to get in the car. I don't need to get out and walk about. Just want to sit and be. That kind of inner voice that can want to be, do nothing, no activity. The very nature of the mind itself is restless. It's activity. The function of the mind is thought. It's like, can we go and stop the river from flowing? All the sources of the big Columbia River are coming from thousands and thousands and thousands of little rivulets and rivers. By stopping the big river, you're not stopping that flow. The feeder rivers, they're still going on. The snow is melting. The rain is falling. The same thing with the mind. When we want to have a break, we need to just be with that inner voice initially. We're asked to watch it. Words will come, thoughts will come within. Just watch it, like sitting in a riverbank and watching the flow of your thoughts go by, but not attaching to any of them. I need to call such and so. Nope, down the river. I didn't do the laundry. Nope, down the river. Whatever it is, no, not attaching it. You have despised attachment to the senses. The senses are what keep us ever active until we're exhausted. Sometimes we get so activated we can't get to sleep anymore. We're overstimulated. You see children that way. They finally just collapse. Dogs can be that way. They're overexcited. A cat, just try to overstimulate a cat. You'll know what happens there. You're going to get torn up. So, O King of Ascetics, O best of men, give me attachment to your holy feet. how is that going to help? Why? You're despising attachment to the senses, but I should have, what does attachment to your holy feet mean? The avatar represents an idea. In this case, maybe in the form of Ramakrishna. It could be in the form of Christ or Buddha or whatever you feel in your hearts of hearts draws you. It has to be legit. You can't just pick something and try to make it. Better to take a known avatar that's the real thing. And as we learn about such beings, they're not like us. They've come to deliver a message for the whole world. Not one culture, not one elite group of educated society. No, for everybody. Nobody, we're all in the same boat. We think I'm in a fancier speedboat, or I'm in a steamship, or I'm in a yacht with helicopters on it. That doesn't make any difference. We're all stuck in the same plane of this world, of endless restlessness, of going after stuff that never satisfies. Show me a rich CEO who, if you're trying to be the CEO of your little startup, or you are one, show me a happy one who's got no more, he's satisfied, it did it. Obviously, I can understand. Oh, we understand that there's kind of no end to that. But how well do you really understand it? Some people make radical changes in their life. They're thinking a career change will do it. Maybe they go back to med school. Let me be a doctor. I'll help people. I'll do something for others. We don't have to do radical things to help someone. We just have to be cognizant that maybe a kind word and a smile, a sympathetic glance, can actually pick up the day to a person who's, who knows, checking you out at the cash register all day. That's their world looking, and they have to smile and say, have a nice day. You might have to do that too. But actually stopping the world and saying, how is your day? How, you have a good day. And give a genuine smile, not even time to glance at them or make an eye contact. That's the kind of world we sort of are coming into. Computer companion, computer dog at home. Woof, woof. Not the same as a real dog. And yet people are doing it because it's better than nothing. That's how desperate we're getting. The real contacts, the real connections, people are forgetting how important we are here. We are on the same globe. We're not going to be living on Mars or space, contrary to all your Netflix movies and other watching. Not in our lifetime. This is where air exists. Try to keep it clean. Give me attachment to your holy feet. Attachment, if I'm attached to the holy feet of the avatar, my mind, just like you're attached to your new best friend, your lover, your mother, your sister, your brother, your dog, we think about them all the time. The thought of them brings a smile to our face, makes us feel warm. It's like anticipating the first cup of coffee again. We have to find ways to continue. This world isn't going to just disappear on us. It's not like when we say the world is illusory. It's going to stay for the whole rest of our life, and we will navigate it. But if we can learn to do it more intelligently, more rationally, I find Vedanta very rational. I find that taking stock, learning to think reflectively on yourself, has nothing to do with your Facebook account. It has nothing to do with getting thumbs up from someone else. This is about you, with you, on your own. This collective life of my self-worth, if I get too many, if I even get 5 thumbs down on my website or my YouTube channel or something like that, I'm devastated. Maybe I had 100,000 views and only 5 people didn't like it. Well, that's doing pretty good, really, but yet I am going to brood about those 5. What did I do wrong? No. That's not a way to live your life. There are too many really important things than popular public opinion. How much time do you give when you give a thinking how much you love the people you're watching, or if you thumbs up someone's video? Are you thinking about that all day? It's not important. So in the same way, what is important is maybe giving ourselves our internal thumbs up, in the sense of eating real food for the mind, giving ourselves a genuine assessment. It's almost needless to say, you don't get to fool yourself or lie to yourself. And don't think that, oh, I do this, I do that, I have bad habits, I have qualities that if I see myself in someone else, I'm not liking what I see. Don't be hard on ourselves like that, particularly in the beginning. There is nobody perfect here. Nobody is walking the sleek, smooth Hollywood strip where we stop and get our picture taken and then walk on and then go back to our miserable life at home. It's not that way. We can improve. We change one little thing about ourselves. Okay, if you don't like something about yourself, you can work on it. By this last thought, this give me attachment to your holy feet. When we are thinking of a high ideal, 5 minutes, thank you, of a higher ideal, that kind of time out is good quality time. If we have attachment to that ideal, attachment to the teachings, that's why all religions, all philosophies, they have books of steps to follow. In Buddhism and Christianity, the golden rule, which is in all religions, it's exactly the same thing. Treat others how you would like to be dealt with by others. Do we do that all the time? We go through we may have a lifestyle where we pass through so many people in a day. We don't give them the time of day. We don't even make eye contact with them. They're nothing to us. Is that what you want to be to the rest of everyone? Okay, you're not going to be best friends with everyone you pass by. I'm not trying to say that. Don't mistake that. But if we can be real with ourselves, there's no hoodwinking in that department. If we lie to ourselves, there's absolutely no hope for you to ever improve. The first truth, Ramakrishna would say, truth is the austerity of this time, of the Kali Yuga, he would say. But meaning truthfulness means practicing truthfulness. Doesn't mean saying mean but opinionated truths that you have about someone else to make them feel bad. That's not what truthfulness is. Truthfulness is, first of all, being able to look at yourself genuinely and find out if you don't find out your own faults, to improve them one by one, little incremental steps, baby steps. That's how we get better. We can do that. We can improve things little by little that we don't want to. And that is our job. That's how we improve. Otherwise, what's the point of just staying as we are? Nobody will stay as they are. They're going to get better, as it were, or they're going to get worse. It goes one or the other way. And if we make conscious choices about where we're going to go, how we're going to go, living intentionally, that idea of living with a purpose, living intentionally, it means throughout the day as much as possible, not going on autopilot like the way we all got here or drove here. You remember driving? Who's driving that car? Who made those turns? We were listening to the radio or talking or turning, or somebody sitting next to us. We just gave enough attention to get us through the zoo of cars in the streets. But this kind of attention has to be more. This reflective thinking. I'm going to start the 7th verse. So the attachment to the avatar is important. Also, the avatar is like if you see yourself as a young child whose parents maybe are taking them out on their birthday. Everything's going to be given by the parents. For a spiritual seeker, everything comes through the avatar. If you're going to pray for something like a little kid, they know, ask mommy or daddy. If you're a spiritual seeker, don't ask your friends, don't ask your parents, go right to the avatar. All right, I'm going to, we've done one verse. It led to a whole nother talk. It's fine, it didn't. This is important stuff. Are there questions that have come through here? Any on the chat? Are we, Ben, are we on live chat? No questions. Does anybody have a question here? We can take just a few. Yes.
I was wondering, you were talking about how the avatar is specially a manifestation of God, but then you were also saying that everything in the world is a manifestation of God. So wouldn't that mean that I am also the avatar?
No. So the adjective is a special and unique manifestation of God. In the Vedanta language, we use the word jiva to refer to, it just means a soul who is born with average and ordinary desires, like yourself, like me, like everyone here. The avatar is always conscious of his unique purpose and state. He is not brought to this plane of existence by desire as we are. We come back here again and again to finish up more desires. The avatar never comes because of that. They always show up as a special manifestation to show us at least one, there may be multiple doors out, but the different ways to get out of our predicament of trying to fulfill an infinite number of desires in a finite lifetime. It can never be done. So the avatar is unique. They come with a purpose and a special message. In this case of Ramakrishna, the general message is the goal of life is to realize God. That's the ultimate goal. The paths you will take through life may include all the normal things, marriage and children or families and all that. But there's a higher purpose for our having taken birth than just to do the same thing again and again and again. The way you might look at the insect kingdom, where there are billions and billions of ongoing mosquitoes and bugs and insects that to us, what is their purpose? Well, we find out they do have purposes. They pollinate plants and do things like that. But from our viewpoint, it's just a beetle. It's just an ant. It's just a mosquito. Is that worth? Well, that's where it all starts, maybe. The consciousness, they are also manifestations of God spread a little less thinner than air. We can see the mosquito in the atmosphere, but air is even thinner. This whole universe is said to be a manifestation of Brahman. But the Brahman in Atman, these two things are there. Brahman as the whole, as the one without a second. But the Atman always knows, I am separate than everyone else here. As long as you feel separate and as long as you see diversity, you can be absolutely sure that you're not the avatar and that Brahman is manifesting within you. And the closest we find is that inner voice, that witness that watches your own life from within you. We all have this experience. I mean, I can't imagine that voice has been there since our childhood. And it's just like a camera recorder. I'm going to make a few announcements. We're probably off camera by now, but to close this up. So the importance of the avatar is like, if you remember, if you were a young American kid or something, and you believed in magic, and say Santa Claus brings the presents at Christmas time, or a tooth fairy puts money under the pillow, the avatar grants us, first of all, the desire for liberation, for moksha, for freedom. Freedom means freedom from its fearlessness, living without any fear. If we're really free, that's a great thing to always meditate on. What would your life look like if you had no fear of anything? You'd say, that's impossible. We're all afraid of stuff. But if you're going to reach for the sun, go big. If you're going to think big, imagine what your fearless life would be. What would it take to be alive and be fearless? We're always afraid of death and dying, or pain and misery and suffering. It's pairs of opposites. I have to stop the talk. I will thank you for coming. I'm going to make a few announcements. There's so this coming Saturday is a retreat given by Swami 7May23 at Tapovan Retreat. It's Arlington. It's where I stay. 45 minutes drive, but on a Saturday morning, if you don't come early, it could be an hour to an hour and a half drive. There's just mostly I-5 that will get you there, and it can be bad on a nice weekend. So that's Saturday. Swami will be, please look at our website for the calendar of classes. Swami gives, I think, a Wednesday night talk on the disciples, the household disciples of Ramakrishna. And on Friday nights, maybe, is that, somebody help me out here. Friday night, Wednesday is the gospel, Friday night is the householder. And Ramnam Sunday night, tonight is a Ramnam, maybe. I'm not sure if anyone's available who can sing it. For anyone who wants to come and visit our Tapovan retreat, you just see me or talk with Ben and get my cell phone number. I'm not giving it out publicly right now, but you're welcome to come. I'm almost always there. I take care of the grounds, gardens, and everything else. So you're all invited, and I'm looking for help in the gardens. It's a gorgeous place. Everything is in bloom. And it's keeping me real busy. So we have a few helpers coming up now and then, but you're all welcome to come and see. And then if you feel like you'd like to help clean up someone else's yard, we've got 20 acres of it and a beautiful forest, a beautiful lake, and 7 acres of lawn to mow. So it's a lot for just one or two guys. So thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Remember the avatar, and I'll say good morning to you. Bye-bye. Let me finish with a chant. Om Stapakaya Chatarmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. This chant is in praise of the glory of the avatar and of the best of all avatars for us, of